What's up, Dean? Trying to add some people here. Trying to get Colin to join on here. It's taking a moment. What's up, Colin?
Hey, what's up, Todd? How are you, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm
Good to
doing
talk
good.
to you.
Yeah, man, I was looking forward to this, man.
Yeah, so this is Colin Mackenzie, and I kind of announced that we were going to do something. And Colin was the founder of Team Ruthless, which produced a lot of fighters in Hawaii, including Max Holloway, John Bernard, Colin himself, Shison Lawpola, a bunch of guys. So what I wanted to ask you kind of start was just what made you get the idea to start a fight team in the first place?
Um, well, honestly, all my life I grew up fatherless. I grew up getting punked and bullied, and I've longed for friendship, even deeper than friendship. I've longed for like a brotherhood of any sort. And if anybody knows anything about Y9, for those who don't know about it, it's a tough place to grow up. It's a very tough place to grow up, but I would have never changed it for the world. It builds a lot of character if you can withstand what goes down over there. But I met my best friend who became like a brother to me, Shison Lawpola, and he was one of those guys who's shy, but he ain't the one to mess with. You know what I mean? And we just became really good friends. And he started training at Jesus is Lord gym, and he'd been trying to tell me like, come to this gym, man. Like it's fun. And so I said, okay, we'll try it out. So I ended up training with him there.
What year was that?
This was in 2004. 2004 was the August 2nd, 2004 was the first time I ever stepped into a gym. I had no experience prior, you know, but I just wanted to be at my bro Shice. He's a very good guy to be around, and he showed genuine friendship, and started training there and training with Bozo Pauling, David Padilla, who was like a father figure to us. You got guys like Bobo, Jerry Mike Sampson, Stephen Pauling, a bunch of animals in there. And what made me decide to try to make my own team was when we were training there, it was a very great gym, and I really loved how they implemented Jesus in it. You pray before you train and lock arms and the whole camaraderie. That's something I've been longing for. So kind of got that idea from them, sort of. But what made me venture off and making my own was me and Shison was relatively young kids starting off, and we weren't prize fighters, so to say. So majority of the prize fighters, they were getting more of the training, and it's understandable, like it's a small gym, everybody putting in work. We're young kids. Don't get me wrong, they would give us drills to do and stuff, but I found myself training Shison on the side, holding mitts, we're running drills together. To Oregon in 2005, and we stayed there for almost half a year. And we were fortunate enough to run across a gym called OJJ, ran by Scott McQuarrie. One of the most notable fighters Scott McQuarrie coached was Chael Sonnen during the era that Chael Sonnen fought Anderson Silva. So he showed us a lot of things that, we would have probably never have learned. And we got homesick. I'm not going to lie, we got homesick. So we ended up coming back home, and we were thinking like, should we go to a gym, or should we just save our money, use what we learned from our previous gym experiences, and, just try to make something happen? So we prayed about it. We talked about it, and it was like, you know what, let's do it. My mom had a little duplex house in Makaha, and God bless our neighbors, because they allowed us to, like, they left their cars out, and they were for it. They're all for us training. So we started off our team. If anybody wondered how Team Ruthless, like the name came about, is from Ruthless Robbie Lawler. He was the guy that when we were young, we were browsing through the internet and we saw this 18-year-old phenom, not that much older than us at the time, just knocking these older gentlemen out in the UFC. And we were like, wow, if this guy can do it, maybe we can, you know? So he's a big reason why we called our team Ruthless. It was a tribute to Robbie Lawler, and it just sounded cool, you know, like Ruthless, you know? But so what gave me the confidence to start our own team was, one, I already had gym experience. Jesus Lord put a pretty good foundation in us. OJJ put a pretty good foundation in us. And I always had the ability to talk to people, you know. So I was fortunate enough to link up with, which I owe a lot of credit and admiration to, is Derek Bright. I'm sure you might remember his shows. He's like the pioneer of bringing people up. At the time, the show was called Kicking It, but he changed it to Man Up and Stand Up. So just having his number, knowing that I have a general base of how to train people, me and Shyson just decided, hey man, let's just make a team, you know, and let's see where it goes. So it started off with me, Shyson, and our best friends at the time. They're our brothers, Sam and Josh Ferreira. And we just formed our team from there, and we just started training in my garage. And yeah, that's just how it went down.
So when you know, like you mentioned the neighbors, did you just say, hey, we want to do this, and they were totally cool with it, or how'd that work?
Well, the neighbors were really cool to us naturally. Like before we started off the team, they were really good neighbors where they would make like the best tandoori rice I ever had, and they would bring it over and like give it to me and my mom, because at the time it was just me, my mom, and my sister, and they would like share food with us. We'll share food back. We developed like a good neighborly relationship. And then when I told them I wanted to start up a team, and you know, because Waianae is known stereotypically to be like the rough of the rough place. Like people talk very bad about Waianae, and to be honest with you, I wanted to change that stereotype. I really want to impact the community. And most importantly, I wanted to bring in these broken and lost young men and build them up, you know, because I know how it feels to be lost and broken, and I know how it feels to you know, just feel good and get encouraged and stuff. So yeah, I kind of told them that, like, I just want to start training. You know, we're not going to do anything crazy. And, you know, if you want us to stop, we'll stop. But for the most part, this keeps us out of trouble. And your kids can train with us too. They had young kids at the time, and I welcomed them. You know, you guys all can get in on the mix, you know, and they were just very supportive. They knew the cause could possibly turn out well. It's like they invested in Amazon when Amazon first came up. You know, it's like they took a chance with us, and it turned out well. A lot of people became really good people, not just fighters, you know. So they're really cool with us, and I owe them a lot of gratitude.
So how long was you guys training where it was just the core people?
So the core people was me, Shyson, Sam, and Josh. We were training maybe for a few months, and our friend Josh Ferreira, he was like the Hawaii Jorge Masvidal on the streets, you know, like this guy would, and he's not picking the fights. These guys picking fights with him, and he's a never back down kind of guy. So he was tough as they come. He has a chin, he hits hard and everything. So we used to just, me, Shyson, and Sam, how we used to train, we would all three like gang up on him because he's bigger and stronger than us, and like he would lay it on us, we would lay it on him, and we would just forge steel, you know, we'd just be strong together. So we was doing that for a few months, and then that's when the first member to ever fully join us was John Bernard. At the time, he was barely 5 foot tall, big old chubby boy, but you know, he was very nice, carried himself well, and I kind of felt like I know how he feels, you know, because he had a similar story where counted as an outcast and bullied and stuff. But he threw on some gloves and started sparring with Shyson, and he was doing good. He was holding his own, and from there he joined the team, and then word started to spread when we slowly started to get fights from Derek Bright. Like me and Shyson would get fights, and John would corner, you know, get to feel how it feels, and from there, it gradually caught wind. Like people in the community started seeing like, wow, these young boys are training out of the garage, no fees, doing pretty well, and open to all. I was never one of those guys who you have to be a certain way, you have to look a certain way, or be a certain way. Because, like I said, I longed for camaraderie. I longed for brotherhood, more the merrier. So next thing you know, people started just flock in, and the team kind of took off from there. We definitely had the favor of God upon our team, bro.
So, as the person who started it, what was kind of the core of your training, you think, like your methods at the beginning, at least?
Well, at the beginning, the main thing I wanted to focus on was being fundamentally sound, technique over everything. You know, because even as a fighter, the last thing that leaves your body is power. You're always going to have power. The first thing that goes is probably technique. And they say fatigue makes a coward of us all. So I refused to have any of my guys be cowards. So I focused heavily on cardio and being technically sound. But the main thing that I got across to these guys, because look, Todd, anybody can be a coach. Anybody can hold some mitts, call out some combinations, make some drills. It's one thing to be a coach, but it's another thing to be a mentor. And that's what I tried to display myself as. Even though I was only a few years older than them, we're all generally close in age. My main thing that I wanted to accomplish with these guys is not just making them champions in the ring, but champions in life, because like I said, Waianae, Makaha side, stereotypically a bad place to be. So I wanted these guys to break the stereotype and show not just the island of Hawaii, the island chains. I wanted to show the world or anybody who ever got caught wind of us that there's more to Waianae than just bad kids and punk. There's diamonds in the rough. So my training based on trying to be good people. I really put Jesus at the forefront. Granted, I was young. We all make mistakes because nobody's perfect but Jesus and our wives, apparently. So I tried to put Jesus as the foundation, and I tried to put brotherhood and camaraderie as the foundation. So that was the foundation of it all. But training wise, if that's what you're getting to as well, it was all about cardio and being as technical as you can be. The power will always be there. If you can maintain cardio and keep your technique flowing, I felt that you have a high chance of winning the fight no matter who you fought. So that's kind of how the training was based.
So how long did it take to where you felt like, I know you're saying you guys were making a name for yourselves. How long did it take for like people to start coming in and asking to join that you didn't know?
To be honest, it caught fire quick, and a lot of people just came flowing in. A lot of people came flowing in, like people came from as far as Kaneohe, shout out to Todd Young, Makana Vertido. I guess they liked what we were doing, and we were just a bunch of young kids just trying to make a name for ourselves and just trying to have fun while we're doing it, So I would say it took barely a year before our team to truly expand. Like we had guys from Kaneohe come, Hawaii Kai come, a lot of people in Makaha, Waianae, Nanakuli, like everybody was welcomed. And I'm glad that a lot of people took it upon themselves to step up and want to train, because it can be intimidating going to a place that you're not really sure of, let alone we considered our place like a monster's den, a bunch of young lions, just like a lot of these people, man, hats off to them, because without each and every one of the individuals that were a part of our team, we would have not become what we were, So it's an amazing experience, man, So to answer your question, little under a year, the team went from maybe 4 or 5 guys to like 20 almost, So it was really good.
And how long did it take to where Max started showing up?
The thing about Max, I'll never ever forget, like the kid, he has like a movie. They can make a movie off of our team, and especially his life. How it all came about with Max, we were maybe about a year in, and Max was 13 at the time. I believe he was about to be a freshman in high school. And one of my good friends, Josh Keanu, he started training at Jesus is Lord when me and Shyson started training. So we became really good friends with him. His parents would take us to and from training, and they played a big part in our lives. But anyway, we went to Josh Keanu's house, and I've never met Max before, never seen him in my life. And Josh Keanu had a speed bag in his garage. And I just see this skinny little kid, you know, just going away at the speed bag, bro, like, and I was tripping out. I was like, oh, wow, like, this guy's pretty good. So I said, hey, what's up, man? He's like, hey. And I was like, well, I'm Colin Mackenzie. Nice to meet you. And he's like, oh, I'm Max. And I was like, oh, you trained before? He's like, not really. And I was like, man, you got some potential in you. You know, the speed bag ain't for a faint of heart. It's not the easiest thing to do. And he's like, it's fun though. And I was like, hey, why don't you come train with us? Like, do you got any place you train? He's like, oh, I don't really train. I'm just focusing on baseball. And I was like, oh, so you're aspiring to be like a baseball guy? And he was like, yeah, baseball is my passion. I got summer camp for it ready. And, you know, I just want to be really good at baseball. And then I took it upon myself to tell him, you know, nothing against baseball, but you should train with us. And I promise you, if you train with me and the boys, I'll make you a world champion. And I think that stuck with him. You know, that was a bold statement of mine, but that was my way of bringing him in. I don't know what it was. It must have been God ordained, because I felt an overwhelming feeling that this kid had to be with us. You know how Joe Rogan or Daniel Cormier talks about people got that it factor? He just had that it factor right from the start. And the coolest thing about Max is he decided to listen. Like, he was like, you know what, I'll come. He put baseball on the side and gave my statement a chance. He was training with us. He started training with us the week of, we had fights coming up. Punishment in Paradise, it was called. They used to have one, like, Punishment in Paradise was like the cream of the crop, elite strikers. You know, you must have saw it before. Like, veterans came from there. Really good stand-up fighters fight in that show. So we were able to get onto that card. I think we had me, Shyson, and Josh Ferrer fighting on that card. Might have been John too, I'm not sure. But for the most part, Max started, he first entered our gym the week of the fights. I was training him for only 3 days. This is a remarkable story. 3 days of training him. And he was doing the drills good, barely getting tired. I mean, pretty technical for what he had. We go to the weigh-ins, and there's this kid who's looking for a fight. And I just felt like, you know what? You and Max are same weight. Hey, Max, you want to fight tomorrow? And he was like, what? Fight? I was like, trust me when I say this. You are more than ready in my eyes. You just have to believe what I'm saying. Like, if I believe in you, you should believe in yourself. I would never, ever put my fighters in a predicament where I didn't think they could win, let alone stand a chance, you know? So he trusted me, you know, that's the great thing about him. We had that great bond right from the start. He trusted me to say, okay, I'll take the fight. Wouldn't you know it? 3 days of training, he takes this fight and he wins, Todd. He wins a fight off of 3 days of training, not having prior experience, really. Right from there, I knew, holy crap, our team already got a bunch of animals. This is the baby of our crew. Can you imagine what this kid can become if we not only all invest in each other, but if we like put some energy towards this kid? And then, you know, look what happened. You know, from there, he just started going on a streak, you know. So that's how Max kind of came along. Is saw him at the garage, hitting the speed bag, offered him to train with us, put baseball on the side, and he took a chance, and I'm pretty sure he's happy he took that chance, you know. So that's how it all started.
Why do you think he developed the way he did?
The reason I really feel there's many aspects to how he developed. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's all from me, because to be honest with you, Todd, I was just fortunate enough to be a vessel used by the Lord to guide these fine young men. You know, when I was young, I might have had that part of me like, yeah, I'm making these champions, you know, but like when you get older, you develop, you become mature. So looking back at it, I can honestly tell you, I was just fortunate enough to be a vessel. And yeah, the thing that I think that made Max who he is was his upbringing. You know, he was like me, didn't really know his father. Like there's like drug crap in his family, and he was picked on. And because I'm not trying to talk bad by any means, but he was like a skinny kid. People would talk about his ears. Like people would put him down, you know. And being bullied myself, you can either be down and defeated or use that as fuel and motivation to rise up and become something. So I think that was a huge part of it. I think his family's support. He has like an amazing mom and probably one of the best grandmothers that a kid could have. Amazing, wonderful women that, like, I consider them family to this day. Like amazing women, and just amazing backbone he had with his family. And then what I was able to contribute to him was what I feel was separated me a lot from coaches was I was able to tap into his mind and make him believe that he was something greater than what he ever could have imagined, you know? So it's a combination of me putting in the work, not just physically, mostly mentally into him, his upbringing of his life, and just who he is, you know. I just think that God made him specifically to be a fighter, you know. That, I don't know, he has many factors, but I would say that's the three, you know. So
Well, I'm curious, like as you're growing this team, you know, you make your own team. You know, most of the people, well, I mean, like you had certain teams and then you had more teams like in town area, Honolulu area.
mhm.
How were you studying to train these guys, or what did you do to kind of, were
So
you researching tapes, or what were you doing exactly?
yeah, a lot of, maybe I wouldn't say the boys took me for granted, because I know my boys loved me and honored me and trusted in what I did, but a lot of them don't know what I do behind the scenes. Before training, I'd be in the books, be reading many books about boxing, Muay Thai, a lot of grappling, I'm just trying to gain knowledge, watching tapes, watching footage of successful fighters. And um, I'll do it before training, especially when they leave. I'd get in the books, I'd watch these videos, you know, and I'll take from the greats what I feel would really help us. And that's why when Max beat Jose Aldo twice, none of the boys should have been surprised, because I based majority of our training, especially our foundation and our stand-up, based off of Jose Aldo. Because if anybody who knows fighting can recall, Jose Aldo was probably one of the best fighters to ever step into the cage or ring, whatever you want to call it, you know. He was a guy who was technically sound, crispy hands, nice head movement, amazing kicks, carried himself well, amazing takedown defense. If he went to the ground, he could handle himself, but he preferred to stand and fight. So I based all my knowledge and watching how they train. A lot of the one main team that I studied a lot, and I felt like we were close to resemblance, was shoot boxing. When they had Vanderlei Silva, Shogun Rua, you know, all them guys from Brazil, where they just stand up guys with excitement, but not afraid to go to the ground, you know, just trying to be well-rounded. So I guess to answer your question, behind the scenes when nobody was looking, I was in the books for hours, watching footage for hours. And then when people would come, when the boys would come, or if Max comes early or whoever, I would try to get a feel of it, of what I'm trying to teach, drill it, see if it would work, tweak it a little bit. And then when everybody come pouring in, I've already thought of like, okay, we're going to work on this today. We're going to work on that today. So a lot of it is about Jose Aldo, to be honest with you. Jose Aldo is a huge reason why we became how we became, because that guy was incredible, man. That guy was incredible. And if you watch all of our fighters, you know, Jose Aldo looked like our cousin. You know, we look like his cousin, you know. So God has been good to us, man. So Jose Aldo, a lot of studying behind the scenes. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did, man. All self-taught.
Yeah, I got us. Colin is actually in Washington now. He's in Tacoma, so he's not training people in Waianae anymore.
Yeah,
He's just
yeah. I mean, if I could get paid decent, you know, I did it all for free. But hey, if I can get enough money to pay my bills, I'd love to train there again, you know. So You know what they say, when God created the world, the first town he ever created was Makaha. You know what I mean? So
As your team's getting bigger, you're training in the small place. How did you make it work? You know, how are you able to train the guys, large group of guys, in the small confined area? I mean, I saw that in Japan. You know, most of the gyms in Japan were like the size of this room. But how did you make it work?
Well, coming from like just knowing in general, like when you got a big team, a lot of focus goes on like prize fighters, and I refuse to be like that. If there's 17 guys at the time, then guess what? We're going to do a 17-minute circuit. You know, like every guy who was there, I'd have to think on the spot. I already had drills lined up in my head, but then as more people start coming in, I would have to think of, I'll just make random stuff, you know, like, okay, you jump up and down. You just throw punches in the air. You two pummel each other. You know, I'll try to include every single person. And I'm grateful and thankful that we had a big team, because it held me accountable to include everyone, and it allowed my mind to expand on making like an elite cardiovascular circuit program. Like like I said, if there's 15 of us, there's 15 different stations, minute a station, and we're just going for like three rounds of it, you know. So it's like 45 minutes of all of us just putting in work together. So how I made it work was I just tried to include everybody. I tried to think of tactics that everybody could get involved. And if it was too big of an amount, then we just split it in half, you know. But at the end of the day, nobody would be left out. I don't care how tall you are, how small you are, how big you are. Everybody gets a fair share and a fair crack at developing their craft. So it worked out well, man. It worked out very well.
So there wasn't any kind of internal not letting somebody be a part of the training or anything like that?
Nah, it was never like that. Like I said, I always wanted camaraderie. That's what I longed for more than anything. I wanted camaraderie for my own, whether it sounds selfish or not. Me as a person, I longed for brotherhood, and I wanted to create an atmosphere that people feel welcomed, feel loved, feel encouraged, and just feel like they can be themselves. And like even with Max, you know, he was a very, very well-liked person. I don't want people to get the wrong idea, like, oh, nobody liked him. No, it was never like that. Max was one of the most likable people we had. A young kid, funny, he had spunk. He was a little animal, you know? So, like I said, our team wasn't perfect, but I did my very best to shepherd my flock of lions to be a tight-knit group, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. So I took it upon myself to make sure that we bring the guys who's rookies, or you want to call them, and bring them up. So like, for an example, how I implemented that is we would run Keeley Drive like every other day, if not every day. You would see like 20 of us running. You'll think it's in a safari, you know, you just see lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, you know what I mean? Everybody just running, man. And at the time, I was thin and ripped like Jesus. You know, I had cardio for days. I was leading the pack, Max behind me, and all the boys just all in single file lines, and the gaps would widen based on people's cardio and ability to run. When I get to a certain point on Keeley Drive, I'll take it upon myself, and Max would follow me and do it too, because we were probably one of the more better runners. We'd run all the way back down to the slowest guy. And when the slowest guy saw us, you could see them start to have a pep in his step. Me and Max would go behind them, or if it was just me at the time, pushing these big boys, hand on the back. Come on, you can do this, you know? Don't give up. Because if you start to give up, it becomes habitual. And we don't give up around here. We are lions. Like, you know, just getting in the brain. And that's how we did it, you know? That's how I included everybody. That's how I envisioned it becoming. And I wouldn't change anything for the world, you know? It was an amazing brotherhood. And all my fellow comrades and ex-teammates, and I'm sure they can attest to it, it was probably one of the better seasons in all of our lives. It shaped and molded us to be better people, you know? So
how did you develop the bonds, though, outside of just training? What did you do specifically that you felt developed the bonds within your team?
Well, one thing I tried to do from the spiritual aspect was I tried to make it somewhat mandatory that we all attend the church service, regardless of anybody's belief. Because like I tell people, if you're hesitant about God and you don't believe in that, you can still give it a shot because a pastor's an encouraging person. You know what I mean? So I made it a point Sundays, take the team to church. So at the time we went to Word of Life. And yeah, that was part of it. But a lot of it, if you're not counting about that, a lot of it was we were all young boys. None of us could drive. So we'd all hop on a bus. We'll do silly stuff, but it felt super fun to me. Like, we would all sit on chairs in a bus. We would all try to we would catch the bus from Makaha all the way to Pearl Ridge or Alamoana. And we would play, I don't know why I thought of it this way, but I thought it would be fun. We'd play musical chairs on a bus. And you're wondering, people might be wondering, how you gonna play musical chairs on a bus? Every stop is when you gotta move. You know, and we got like 8 of us, 10 of us, all dressed up, ready to go to the mall. Once the bus stops, we're all giggling, trying to sit next to an old lady, sit next to a guy, and just laughing the whole way. And we would go to like stores. And again, it may come off like silly kid stuff, but this is what built our camaraderie. We'd go to like Kmart. We'd play hide and seek in Kmart. Like, who really does that? You know, we're just running around Kmart, workers looking at us. We're just walking like we ain't doing nothing. And once they don't look, we're running from each other. We would go to Ice Palace together. Basically, in a nutshell, I tried to do a lot of activities with the boys, you know, whether we watch a movie together, the whole roll. We'd watch the movie 300, like 4 times. Apocalypto, like 4 times. We would attend movies together, church together, play Chase Master together, hide and seek. I mean, we went as far as we'd eat lunch at Burger King and play in the little jungle gym in there. Big teenage young men just laughing like little kids, just having a good time. So that's how I try to bring together, is just a lot of team activities outside of the gym. You know, just fun stuff to do. One of the best things we probably ever did was late at night, make the call to everybody, let them know, hey, tonight at like 1 a.m., we're going to play Chase Master in Makaha Elementary, you know? And at the time, it's fun, it's building camaraderie, but we're building our cardio at the same time. We'll be just running around all night long playing Chase Master Makaha Elementary. And I know the boys remember those days, and I know they ain't gonna forget it. But to answer your question, that's how I built the camaraderie within us, was church and group functions. You know, we do everything together. We eat together, we drink together, we sleep at each other's houses together. And, you know, it was a true brotherhood. It really was.
Now, having had that experience of training those guys and everything, is there anything you would have changed or done differently looking back on it?
I guess for me personally, I could have made maybe better choices because, you know, we would represent God, and God would give us many victories. And the thing that maybe I could have done better was steward our victories better. And what I mean by that is, after we like really praying up and come on, Lord, doing whatever it takes to get us ready for a fight. And once we experience victory, then it's kind of like God's out the equation, good morals is out the equation. Let's go to the club or something, you know? And I'll put it out there. Max was like one of the guys who never was about that. That's why I think he's where he's at. He don't smoke, he don't drink, he don't like to party at the time. You know, he was just focused. Many of our guys was. But to answer your question, if I could change something, I would not change really much, but maybe certain things that I could have carried myself as the leader better. You know, I always try to be that role model. I always try to lead by example, but there's certain things that I could have done better, like, you know, avoid certain things, or even my speech, and because I wasn't necessarily the most humblest guy. I mean, I carried myself that way, but when it came to fights, the thing that I probably would have changed, but then I kind of wouldn't, is, I don't know, it's a coin toss. The thing that made me stand out was when, as a cornerman, I would be yelling things to my fighter what to do, but at the same time throwing in things like, be ready for the takedown. There's no way they're going to stand with you. This team ain't ready for people like us. Basically, I wanted the cornermen to hear me, but most importantly, their fighter to hear me, so they can get distracted and be mad at me, so my fighter can just tee off them. Granted, it worked very well. I mean, I got under a lot of fighters' skins. I mean, using any tactic that works to win, it wasn't cheating. But if there's something I could change, maybe I would have carried myself a little bit better. You know what I mean? So, but hey, life's about growing, right? So, I mean, I wasn't a punk or anything, but if I could change something, maybe it was just little things like that. So, for the most part, I don't regret nothing. We had a very good life as a team.
Let's talk about some of the other guys you had on that team, people that maybe outside of Hawaii didn't know about, but had really good potential.
Man, I hate to sound biased, but like, I really felt like King David and his 450 men in the cave of Adullam, just a bunch of broken guys with talent, like sky's the limit kind of talent. I mean, I can name a bunch of people, like for starters, Shaisen Alpola. I mean, he's a humble guy. He don't really want his name out there, but I'll let it be known. This guy was like a modern day ninja. Everybody knew that. Like, Max can attest to that. This is the guy that if you spar with him every day, you're bound to win you're not just bound to win a fight, you're bound to win a belt. Like, he was that good. There's Iron Kona K. He was like a Hawaiian Mike Tyson. That's why I gave him the name Iron. He had like a 85% knockout ratio. Incredible fighter. Untamable John Bernard. A guy that's been counted out. A guy that was a short little plump kid turned into a ripped kid who just had volume for days, who just wear down fighters and just take their souls from them. Even Ben the King Santiago. I mean, he had the style, flash, pizzazz. He had amazing leg kicks, hard punches, and he was as tough as they come. There's even guys like Todd Young. Like, he was an amazing fighter. He looked the part. He had like an action figure body, and he was very good. He had like the best spinning back fist of all of fighting. Makaha Vertito could have been one. He's a guy that I kind of want to just bring the story up. He had his own team back then. I don't know who it was. He was like 0-4 or something. Never won a fight. He decided to take the leap of faith, drive from Kaneohe to train with us. And when I'm saying this, all glory to the Lord. But I took him under my tutelage, took him under my wing, made him spar with all these animals, invested in his brain. He fought every single week for the month of February. Every weekend, he won by knockout or TKO. So he went from 0-4, never tasting victory, to being just a victorious knockout artist. You had guys like Lawrence Hinojosa. He's a guy that people play around and try to punk and tease, but he's as tough as they come. He got that Mexican blood. He got that Mexican spirit. He throw down, There's guys like Bubba and John Burgess, Neelan and Nelson Kukahiko. They were like little fireballs. Like, they could have been like Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Like, I mean, guys like Keone Chang, everybody counted him out. This guy became 5-0 under me, won a belt. The list goes on. We had many amazing fighters. And for all my boys who watch this, if I missed your name, forgive me, because we had a lot of. Let me put this into perspective to answer your question of who could have made it. I was fortunate enough to coach and develop 22 champions, Todd. 22 of our members became champions. And not just a single belt. Many of them won 2 belts. I had 3 belts. Shaisen had like 4 belts. Kona had like 3 belts. Ben had like 3 belts. John had 5 belts. Max has 7 belts. They're belt collectors, man. Like, I had other people, like many other fighters that I can't think of right now. But, like 22 champions, Todd. That being a champion ain't easy. And bias or not, I feel like I had like a handful of guys that would have made it. But it's nothing on them. Life catches you. You develop a family. That's probably one of the main reasons why a lot of those boys didn't make it. It's because, to me, they did the honorable and correct thing to do, is put your dream on the side and focus on your family. Family is everything. Raise up your son or your daughter. Proverbs 22:6, Todd, is a real thing. Train up the child in the way they should go, so when they get old, they don't depart from it. So I'm so proud of my guys that put their dreams on the side and they focused on their family. So it's nothing on them like they didn't make it because, they lacked anything. They just put priorities first. And I have much love and respect for each and every one of my boys that went that route. And like I said, Max was the baby. At the time, he didn't really have a family. He was the baby. So we all invested everything into him and tried to propel him up to the top. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question, man.
As you were training him, when did the switch come to where he was training with the people he's with now?
Due to unforeseen circumstances, we just both went different paths. You know, he had his reasonings, I had mine. At the time, um, his ex, or the mother of his child, her sister was with Dustin Kimura, and when I knew that I had to work or couldn't be there for Max, I would tell him like, "Hey, you go to your sister-in-law's boyfriend's gym, and just get what you can until I can link back up with you." And then one thing after another, life hit us. I met my wife, and he got married, and we both just kind of went our separate ways. And yeah, I don't got too much to say about that. It's just, yeah, he went his way, I went my way. I developed my family, and he did his thing. So that's how he met the other team, was because of Dustin Kimura, and at the time I was very encouraging of him going there, because I felt like if I'm not there to train you due to working late or whatever, I want you to get something in. And yeah, I told him, by all means, train with him, learn stuff, So I'm fortunate. I'm grateful for those guys like Rylan Lazarus. I have utmost respect for him, because like what I want to bring up too about all of that is, even to this day, when Max wins these fights, I get a flood of texts from all the Hawaii boys saying like, "Oh, look, that's what you did," or "Yeah, look." Like, what I want people to understand is, it would be selfish of me to sit here and tell you, Todd, Max beat Calvin Gator because of me. No. It's selfish of me to take away from what his team been putting in work with him, Rylan Lazarus and all of that. Yes, Max still has a similar style to what I taught. Like, he still fights like how we train. It's like riding a bike. You ain't never going to lose that, But the way I look at it is, I was just fortunate enough to lay a foundation into Max. I had him since he was 13 all the way to 19 for his debut for Dustin Poirier. During that time, I was just fortunate enough to be a vessel used by God to instill a foundation of Jesus on top of a warrior mentality. I know it's kind of going off topic, but I just want to share this for those who like really into Max and the lineage. And the thing that I would instill in Max the most, which I felt like is a good foundation, I really believe I built the foundation for him. And Rylan Lazarus then made him into a nice mansion. You know what I mean? They built the drywall and nice paint, high ceilings, you know what I mean? But I built the floor, instilled Jesus in him, but I instilled warriorness in him. And what I mean by that is, like, if you listen to him, how he talks like a true warrior. Like, even when he fought Jose Aldo, I do what kings do, go to other lands and conquer. That's the kind of stuff that I would try to instill in all my fighters. And one of the famous quotes that I like to use for my fighters is from Genghis Khan. He was the world's greatest conqueror. And I would try to make the boys believe in the saying of, we are the punishment of God. If you had not committed great sins, God would have not sent a punishment like us upon you. Imagine as a young kid, you got somebody telling you these things. You're going to feel fired up, And I'll try to pour into him a lot of mental things, all my fighters. Like a lot of these fighters nowadays, somebody is 3 pounds over. You're training for 6 weeks to 2 months. Your opponent is 3 to 5 pounds heavier. Oh, we're not going to fight. No, they're too heavy. That kind of stuff just baffles me, Todd, because in the way of the warriors, if the opposition comes into your village, you're not going to sit there and look at this guy who's bigger than you and be like, whoa, you're kind of too big for me. Can you come back when I can put on some muscle, or can you lose weight? No, he's going to kill you. Who knows what he's going to do to your wife? And your wife and kids going to be slaves. So you have to fight. You know what I mean? Like, if they're 10 pounds over, that's unprofessional of you. you still can get in this work, you know. So granted, it's different when you're a professional. I understand you professional and you MMA, you don't want to give up 10 pounds, this and that. But what I'm getting at is the foundation was about how warriors should live and breathe and carry themselves. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of went off topic with that, but you know, I'm comfortable with you, Todd. I'm just sharing, man, for those who are interested to hear the origins. You know what I mean? I feel like this would be very informative to people who always wondered about all of this. So yeah.
You know, I was curious what you thought of the Volkanovski fights because Max had a lot of great fights, but for whatever reason, that guy, I think he won both fights, or maybe Volkanovski won the first. Who knows? I thought he won the second one. You know,
Mhm.
I thought Max won. Why are these fights close? You think he does really well against everybody else? Just looking at it, why do you
Yeah.
think this particular matchup is not
It
as
doesn't
even,
matter how
not
long
as
I've
dominant?
been there. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. No matter how long I've been away from Max, we developed a relationship where like I know a lot about him, you know. And to answer the question about the Volkanovski, the first time he fought Volkanovski, if anybody recalls, he wore a headband that said "Rest in Love," I believe, but RAL cousin Vinny. Um, his cousin Max's blood relatives, they're all a very tight knit Ohana, you know, tight knit family. The night, I believe, the night before or the week of, I believe it's the night before. Um, may his cousin rest in peace, and you know, but his cousin was, I believe, at like a Navy. There was like a shooting at the Navy base or something, and his cousin lost his life. So I firmly believe the reason the first fight Volkanovski won, which was close, was because Max's headspace. He wasn't in it. He lost somebody dear and valuable to him. Like, like if you lost somebody important, do you think you can go to work and execute at a high level the next day? You know what I mean? Like you're gonna be missing your cousin. So I can, whether I'm right or wrong, I believe that's why the first fight went how it went. Is because he lost someone very close to his heart. He walked out with the headband for crying out loud, you know, trying to like show that his love for his cousin. So Volkanovski got lucky on that to me, you know. And what I mean by lucky is that Max wasn't in it. I guarantee he wasn't in it. The second fight, I thought Max did enough to win. I mean, even when he take Max down, Max like he didn't really do any damage to Max. So I'm surprised that the judges had the audacity to give Volkanovski the win. Like a lot of these judges thinks that takedowns with inactivity means more than striking percentage and drops. In like if you're fighting and you drop somebody, that should be like almost a clear sign of dominance because it's very hard to put somebody on their butt, you know? So the second time around, I thought he won, um, but I don't know why like he fought how he fought, and I'm not saying that in any bad way. You know, I don't know what goes on in his head. I don't know how his camp went, but I thought he did relatively well for what it was. I thought he won the second fight for sure.
But
So
what is it about this shorter guy that you think makes for a closer fight?
the thing that I think took Max by surprise is leg kicks because Max don't got too much weaknesses. But if he ever had any form of thing like if there was a weaker link of his fighting, it would be leg kicks. Granted, he's great at it now. You know, I mean, he's probably been great at it. But I'm not trying to knock him in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? Like, if there was the weakest thing, it would be leg kicks. So I think the leg kicks threw him, the first fight especially, threw him off guard. Like, not too much people attack his legs. And not even for Max, like as a fighter, for these coaches out there, if you know you're going in there with somebody who's has good hands, you have to take away their base leg. Excuse me. You know, like, and I think that's what Volkanovski's coaches did. You know, they tried to focus on kicking his legs and slowing him down, and maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. He got the nod. You know, so to answer your question, um, I just think it was circumstances. I just think it was a season. I don't think Volkanovski being shorter makes a difference. I just think it was a season of Max's life. You know, behind the scenes, what was he going through? You know, like maybe he found his love now, because I think he's getting married. Like maybe it was in a process of him developing his family life, like that's just my opinion on it. Like I'm willing to bet if he fought Volkanovski again, because Max looks like he's in a great headspace right now, if he fights Volkanovski again, mark my words, he's going to finish this guy for real. He's going to destroy Volkanovski. So I don't think it's nothing stylistically. It's shorter. I just think it's circumstances. Max had a season in his life, and Volkanovski was in that season where Max was probably doing stuff behind the scenes to develop his personal life, So I don't know. That's my view on it.
Why has his boxing been so successful, you think?
I think his boxing has been very successful because there's a lot of, like, after he went his separate ways, I know he visited other gyms and tried to perfect his craft, but I'm going to really resort to the foundation. There was this drill, because when we first had our team, we didn't have much. We only had like a heavy bag and some grimy mats that was probably coronavirus mats, and we were just fortunate enough to not even get corona at the time. Those mats was grimy for real. But hey, we stewarded what we had. We were grateful. But there was this one drill that every coach should try to make their fighters do, is one guy goes behind the bag, holds the bag. One guy just, as fast and as hard as he can, throw like straight, like your life depended on it. And the only way you stop is when the person on the side of you completes his 10 push-ups. And then from there, the guy with the 10 push-ups goes to the back of the line. The guy who holds the bag goes to push-ups. Max did the punches. He goes behind. Once everybody does straights, the next round is hooks. And I think that played a lot to it, because a lot of our training consisted of volume. Because I'm a firm believer of, if you train 100%, you gain your cardio 100%. The ring, walking out to the ring, it'll cut it in half. You'll be fighting at 50% energy. That's why I train my fighters to have 200% cardio, if that makes sense. Because when they go in the ring and it cuts in half, guess what? They got 100% cardio. And I did the same for punching. I don't just hold typical 1, 2, 1, 2. I'll be trying to make them throw 10s, 15s, 20s in hopes that they develop muscle memory to where no matter how nervous they are, if my theory is correct and things cut in half, they've been doing 20 punch combinations all throughout training camp. At worst, they're going to throw 10s. And in a fight game, you only need a few. You know what I mean? So I really think, besides that, one of the unsung heroes is going to resort back to, there's a lot of guys that actually helped him out. We had a lot of great sparring partners. But one of the main sparring partners that I want to give the props to, and I know Max would agree, is the reason why his boxing and his overall stand-up is so good is because he would be going countless rounds with the Samoan Ninja, Shais Amapola. Like even when everybody leaves, him and Shais would lace up the gloves. And that's why I feel Max had the best of both worlds. You had somebody like me who's holding unique combinations, instilling in you crazy warrior mentality quotes and scriptures and feeding his mind. And then from the physical aspect, you have one of the best strikers that the world could have saw. Like he's one of those diamonds in the rough that the world don't know about. But Max would just go round after round after round until he developed that style. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that's where his boxing comes from. His grit, his foundational training, and his sparring with not just Shais. Shais was a big part of it, but he had a bunch of guys. He had Konake for the power. He had John Bernard for the chicken fighting. They look like chickens. Just he had Ben for the swagger and the movement. He had so much different styles to work with. So when he goes out there into the real world and fight, he's not surprised. They might throw power. Oh, I've been there with Kona. They might be technically sound. Oh, I've been there with Shais. Oh, this guy throws volume too. I've been there with John. Oh, this guy likes to taunt and do crazy stuff. I've been there with Ben. You know what I mean? He had many different sparring partners. He had me constantly in his ear. I think that's what truly developed his stand-up, you know. And again, I'm not going to take the credit for what he's doing now, but I am going to say this. God utilized me to create that foundation in him. And he knows that, you know, you don't have to say it, you know. There's three people that knows the truth about this. It's God, me, and Max. You know, everybody else, there's a part of Max's life, and they helped a lot. But like, those three really knows the truth about all of this. So that's to answer your question. You know, I made it really long. The reason his boxing is how it is he had a great foundation. He had amazing sparring partners, and then it's what he did when he was with his other team. You know, he went to Wanai Boxing. They got like some of the best boxing hands. You know, he did his thing. He did his thing that I might not know about. So I'm not going to take all the credit. Like I said, I was just fortunate enough to be a vessel used by God to instill a good foundation in him. You know, so it's grit, man. The kid's tough, very smart, got good initiative, and you know, he just got the it factor. He just got the it factor.
As a corner, like, what's one of the fights that you remember the most, or maybe the best fight that you're involved with?
Man, this guy, like he made me lose my voice. All my fighters did, but especially Max too. He made me lose my voice almost every fight. But the one fight, there's a lot of close fights. There's a lot of fights that really stood out. But then one of the ones that really made me like, I don't know, that I enjoyed cornering and being a part of was, I'm sure you recall, it was his second professional fight. He fought Bryson Kamaka for the X1 state championship. The belt was supposed to be for 155 pounds, okay? Max weighs in soaking wet, eating all day long, 153. You know, like barely can reach 55 because that wasn't his frame at the time. And Bryson Kamaka tipped the scales at like 185, and he'd been cutting weight all day. And basically, I don't know what was their process behind it. Maybe they wanted to egg us on to fight them still, because we wasn't going to take the fight because it's MMA, and that's like 30 pounds heavier than Max. And I'm not going to do that to his professional career, no matter how much I believe in him, you know? And they made a comment like, oh, I may never make the weight now, but I'm going to be like, when I make the weight in the next couple months, when we fight again, I'm only going to be this weight again. You know, like basically like saying like, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to be heavier than him. So I don't know. I was like, okay. I took Max on the side. Max heard that too. And Max was like, we had this unique father and son relationship, you know, at the time. Granted, I'm only 4 years older than him, you know. But anyway, he'd be like, Pops, I like fight this guy. And I was like, what? You for real? And he's like, yeah, I like fight this guy, bro. For real. I feel like he's disrespecting me, and I know I can beat him. And I said, oh yeah, I definitely think you can beat him too. But like, do you really believe in yourself? Like, I believe in you, but can you honestly answer me and you believe? And yeah, he pretty much said, I believe I can beat this guy. And I said, okay, roger that. We took the fight. Fight night comes, ding, ding, ding. I love watching the fight to this day. The commentators are just biasly against Max, saying how big Bryson is and how strong, and oh wow, Max is he's in over his head, and oh, his coach, and blah blah blah. And we all know how that fight went, you know. So coroning him through that fight was probably one of my best, besides Harris Sarmiento's fight too. When the third fight he fought one of the like legends of Hawaii, somebody we looked up to, and he went out there and he put it on him. It was amazing to corner him those five rounds. You know what I mean? So, I mean, no disrespect to any of his past opponents, but I'm just simply answering the questions for what you present me. You know what I mean? So, probably those two fights stood out for cornering wise for his professional. His amateur fights, all of them are exciting for me. You know what I mean? So,
what do you think about, because you got involved in it a long time ago, what do you think about the era you were coming up in now versus this era that we're watching?
I think a lot to do nowadays. I feel like they don't make it like how they used to. And what I mean by that is, back then it was just like really hard work and, you know, just camaraderie and the grind. Nowadays it's a lot about like technology and division between gyms, and To be honest, I don't really know. Like, I can't really answer that question and really give you 100% answer of what I think is different. But the one thing that do stand out is I don't think they train old school with grit like how we used to. I could be wrong, but I think a lot of it is people trying to come up with uh, technological ways to make your fighter better. And I'm all for like enhancing your mind, but like if majority of your training is basically just meditating and not putting in true hard work, like running up these hills, carrying these bags up hills and sparring and just the Rocky Balboa type of training, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I can't really say what's different. I just know, I just feel like it's not like how they used to make it. A lot of these fighters nowadays, they pick and choose their fights because they want to salvage their record. Back then, everybody wants to fight everybody. Oh, you the best? Then we're going to fight right now. Like you see that in boxing right now. Everybody trying to pick and choose who they want. MMA pick and choose who they want. That's not how it should be. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And if you have the opportunity to fight the best, then you take that opportunity. You know what I mean? So that's how I
Could you
feel.
see yourself ever going back to YNI and coaching people again? Because I know you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. I doubt it. I'm at a place in my life where I'm a family man. I got 4 beautiful kids with 1 more on the way. The Lord said, be fruitful and multiply. So I'm just trying to listen to his command. You know what I mean? So I'm just focusing on my family life, trying to get everything in order. But then that is my dream, is to go back, not necessarily to YNI, but to develop a gym. And I would like to do it up here in the States, to be honest with you. I mean, if it presented itself and I was able to live in, I don't want to say YNI, I prefer to say Makaha. If I could live in Makaha and my rent paid or whatever, like I make sufficient enough income to where I could live. I don't need to live lavishly. I really don't. As long as my family has a roof over their head and food to eat, I would love to live back there. But just, Hawaii is way too expensive. So I highly doubt I see myself going back there to train people. So I'd rather do that up here because it's probably cheaper and easier to make it in the States, so.
I know when we were talking, you mentioned that are you training your kids or no?
Yeah, I'm training my kids right now. My oldest, she has a lot of potential, but she's a girly girl. She's just like, oh, Dad, I don't want to sweat. Like, you don't want to sweat. Part of training and being a fighter is you're going to sweat. So, but I'm training all my kids because regardless of if they want to become fighters or not, I want to build their self-esteem, to build their confidence, and to give them tools that could carry with them for life. And ain't nothing wrong with no self-defense. We live in a crazy world nowadays. I want my kids to never go through what I went through, like being physically and mentally bullied. And I'm not saying I'm teaching them to just somebody make trouble, you lay it on them. I'm just training my kids right now for them to love the sport, understand what mixed martial artists is about. And I want them to be people that stand up for the less fortunate or the people who are getting bullied. Like I make it like a thing with my kids. Like I tell them, if you ever catch somebody getting bullied and you don't stand up for them, like in Hawaii, you know how we talk, oh, you can get lickings, and my kids, they hear that, oh, you can get lickings. They don't like that. I mean, no kid like get lickings in Hawaii. So for the mainlanders who don't know what is lickings, that's spankings or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'm training them right now. And my daughter, my second oldest, Zayani, she's the one that I really believe in my heart. She's going to be our next world champion. You're going to be interviewing her maybe 10 years from now or something. And she's going to take the world by storm. And my son, Leonidas, I believe he's going to do it too. He's only 4 right now. I'm letting him live his kid life. His attention span is all over the place. But I'm really trying to implement training into their lives because I feel it's very detrimental to their growth. I'm a firm believer of staying physically fit, and just having tools, man, to help others who may need your help. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at with that.
Do you still keep in touch with guys from Team Ruthless?
Yeah, I still keep in touch with John almost every day, every other day. I keep in touch with Shison, Kona here and there. brother Pete, you know, and shout out to Pete. And I never mentioned him, but he's an animal too. I still talk to a bunch of the guys, but not as consistent. But they're still a part of my life, you know what I mean? So, but the main guys that I talk to probably on a daily basis would be like John and Scheisse, you know.
So, you know, kind of, do you have anything you want to kind of leave this interview with, or somebody who's watching this that you might want to kind of leave
Well,
on, or?
well, what I wanted to add too is because I wanted to, because I know a lot of people really love and value Max and honor him and stuff, which is cool. You know, I'm happy for the kid. What I wanted to share was, if just in case people are curious on how he really got his nickname, I'm not sure if he ever said it, or maybe if you're curious, you know, but I wanted to share a short story about how he got his nickname, and another story to add on his greatness. Max always went by the name Little Evil after Jens Pulver, right? Um, we created God's Army, and it doesn't make sense fighting out of God's Army. Little Evil, it doesn't go together, you know. Like, oh, we're fighting for God, but we're evil, you know what I mean? So I was like, we got to change the name. I didn't know what name to give him. His fourth professional fight, he fought one of Maui's best, one of the best boxers up there, Eddie Rincon. And the night of his fight, he came down with he came down with the flu, legitimate flu. And I don't know about you, Todd, but when I get the flu, I'm as good as gone. I'm in that bed. I'm a baby. This guy didn't want to pull out. He didn't want to let the fans down. This guy went out there with the flu now. Feel like he gonna faint. Feel like he's gonna throw up. And he went out there and he outstruck one of their best fighters, getting the victory. And from that moment forward, I told him, you know what? Your nickname gonna have to be Blessed, because there's no other name for you. You are a truly blessed kid, you know. And it sounds good, Blessed Max Holloway. You know what I mean? Like you're fighting out of God's Army at the time. So I just wanted to get that nickname part out. But then, if we're gonna end this conversation, and what I want to leave everybody with is what I want all the boys to do, because when we had our little split, you know what I mean, a lot of people were hurt and devastated because we're a tight-knit family. And he went and he did big things, and a lot of the boys might feel like he left us in the dirt and blah blah blah. Maybe in my younger days I could have felt like that too, but I've grown to a place to just realize that everybody has their own journey, and we should just all be fortunate enough to have been a part of it. So I'd like to tell, like, if Max ever watches this, all my teammates, comrades, that if I'm at peace with where he's at right now, and I'm genuinely happy for him, because I love the growth in him. He's an amazing dad. His family deserves it. He got an amazing grandma, an amazing mom. You know what I mean? If I'm at peace with it, everybody else should be too. You know what I mean? Because if somebody should still be bitter or hurt, it should be me. You know what I mean? Like, that was like my son. He called me Pops, for crying out loud. So I just want to tell my boys out there, and anybody who feels some type of way towards Max, unforgiveness is like drinking poison, hoping the other person dies. You know what I mean, Todd? That's not healthy for them. And I'm not pointing out any particular one of my boys. I just leaving it out there in the air. You know, we should all, being that Hawaii is such a small island, not just for Max, we should all support one another. We should all build each other up. If you look on the globe, we're just a dot on the globe. You know what I mean? Like, we should all encourage one another, build each other up. And if Max is leading the pack, let's be happy for him, because Hawaii is on the map. And even besides fighting, his son is going to have a good life. He's a good guy, you know. So I just want to clear the air. Like, I don't really talk to Max as much anymore. But if Max ever does watch this, I want him to know that I am genuinely so proud of him. I love him to death still, you know. I wish nothing but the best for him. And I also want to be that big brother at the same time, because I don't know if anybody holding him accountable. But I want him to remember who got him there. It's not me. It's not his team. It's not himself. It's the Lord. So, Max, I'm proud of you. I love you. don't forget who got you to the show, and that's Jesus. You know what I mean? So bring back Jesus in the interviews, man. Use that platform and glorify his name. You have an amazing platform, an amazing following. Give glory to where it's due. You know what I mean? So other than that, Todd, also, I'd like to thank you personally for allowing me to come on here and share my story. I feel really good that I got to share with whoever's viewing it and whoever may watch this about our origins, our lineage, what I stand for, what I try to implement in the kids and my team, and all my boys who's watching this. All you guys are family men. You guys are walking with Christ. You guys are taking care of your wives, taking care of your kids. I'm so very proud of each and every one of you guys. And like I tell all my boys, choose today to be great. Choose today to be awesome. Be good to your wives, your wife. Be good to your kids. Be good to everybody. You know, one good deed a day gonna keep evil at bay. You know what I mean? So I don't mean to come on here like preacher, but that's just where I'm at in my life, Todd. You know, so if people view this, if they can get one thing from this entire interview, is that God is good and God gets all the glory. That's what that's the base of it all, Todd. So thank you so much for allowing me to use this platform to say what we're about and how good the Lord is. So you're the man, Todd.
Oh, I'd love to talk to you anytime. I could probably talk to you all day, but I don't want to take up all your
Yeah,
time. You know, I know you're busy and
nah, you're
stuff.
good, man. You're good.
But I
So
appreciate it. I think it's great to end on that. And I have a feeling other people probably contact you after this.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. You know, I'm looking forward to it. Now, the main thing is I just wanted to just let it be known how he was. Not too much people know about the upbringing, and like I've been saying before, they can make a movie about us, man. So I don't know if you got connections with like Spike Lee or Steven Spielberg or whatever good producers there is, but they can make a movie, man. You know, and God ultimately gonna get the glory. So thank you, bro. Thank you for allowing me to do this, man. I feel good. So now I'm revved up. I'm about to tell my kids throw on the shoes and let's get out there and let's put in that work. You know what I mean? If they
Yeah, I
think
hear
we're
you.
out to play, but little did they know they're building their strength, their cardio, their grip on their monkey bars, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great talking to you, man. Great meeting you. And like I said, I've already told some other people about you, so I wouldn't be surprised if some other people reach out to you after this.
Yeah, yeah. Whoever wants to talk story, man, my phone is open. You know, anybody got any questions, any further questions, or anything they want to add, you know, feel free. You know, and I'd just like to apologize to anybody back then that I may have possibly offended. You know, I was young. Uh, I did the best I could with what I had. It wasn't easy being Dr. Doolittle, talking to all these animals. You know, I was a zookeeper of all these animals. But yeah, sorry for anybody that may have got offended, and just God bless everybody, man. Just live. Take life seriously, you know, everybody. You know, just be kind to everybody. You know, don't hold grudges, and let's just support one another. And yeah, man, it's been a great interview, Todd. You know, I know I was flapping my gums, but
No, no, it was
it
great.
feels good, man. It feels really
But
good.
I
It feels
wanted to give
really
you a
good.
chance to talk about stuff. I'm glad you were able to.
So I hope I was able to answer your questions and what you wanted to hear about, you know. And if you ever got more questions, you got my number. You can call me anytime. I mean, you need a prayer request, you need somebody to vent to. Here, look at his ears. You can vent to me all day, bro. You know.
All
So
right, man.
just let me know, man. Let me know.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man.
All right, take care.
You have a good day, man. God bless you, Todd.
You
Thank you, bro.
too. You too. Thank you.
Hello.
Well.
Yeah.